it's Hope here at Crafty Hope, and I have made this super cute candy corn charm, and I'm going to make another one, but I want to show you how to do it so you can make yours as well. Now, the supplies are really simple. This is some 16 gauge copper wire and some 24 gauge copper wire. And this is a pretty thick one and a pretty thin one, and that's what I'm using. I did darken mine with some Novocaine black patina and then sealed it to hold that in, but I like the copper plain or darkened, so you do you, or if you've got brass or black or whatever, do that. With that, I also am using some basic jewelry supplies, pliers, and I've got a Sharpie and a ruler so that I can measure out my form. And then I've got a couple mixes of seed beads that I created with just some of the seed beads I had in my stash in the yellow, white, and orange of candy corn. So let me show you how you do this. Let's start by making the frame. Now I've already made a second frame in the distressed or darkened copper, but I'm going to use a little piece of shiny copper and show you real quick how to make this frame. Now let's see if I can move some of these things. I'm going to start kind of in the middle of this wire, and I'm straightening it out a little because when you get it off that roll, it tends to have a bit of a curve to it. So I'm trying to straighten it out as best I can, at least to start. And from there, I'm taking my needle nose pliers. These are my flat ones so they don't mar the wire too much. And I'm just going to randomly pick a spot, not completely in the middle, probably 2/3 of the way on here, and just make it into a right angle like that. And then I'm going to go over here with my ruler and find the 1-inch mark on there. Again, this wire it's so thick, it's hard to make it kind of malleable and able to work with it. But I'm going to take my ruler, find the 1-inch line on here, and I can either make a mark, which I'm not going to do with this since I have found it here. I'm just going to take my pliers and hold it like so, and then make another right angle. Just like that. So we've got kind of this partial box here. From there, I want to measure 1.5 inches up because these frames, you can see, are longer along the sides than along at the bottom to give it that candy corn shape. So I'm going just with 1.5 inches on here, adding that 1/2 inch that the bottom didn't have, and I'm going to mark it here. And then I'm going to go to the other side, moving my wire and placing it along the bottom too, and just find the 1.5 mark and mark it. So now I have 2 marks on this wire. Now that's where I want my wire to cross. I'm going to put these things up because I don't need them anymore and get them out of our way. And let's see. Well, I think we're doing better here. So I'm going to just start bending that wire until it crosses at that line. Now as it bends, this tends to curve a little bit bottom. That's not a huge deal. Candy corn does have that little bit of a curve anyway, so I'm not super concerned about it. Now with that there, I am going to head, now that I've got it kind of angled in that way, in my little teepee kind of shape, I'm going to take my chain nose pliers again and take one of them. Actually, I want to take make sure I take the longer of the 2 because that's what we're going to use to wrap it. And I'm going to go right on that line and put my pliers and bend this again at another right angle. Just like that, or about a right angle, about like that. So we're going to cross them again. I'm just trying to make the wire a little more to work a little bit more. Alright, and then I'm going to go again at that same line, maybe just a smidge above it, and bend that one just so it's pointing straight up, and that's going to be the one that we make our loop out of. So I have those there, and so from there I'm just going to make sure it crosses where we have our lines. And if you'd rather work, you can always bend it back this way so you're working, if you work better with the wire being wrapped behind, put it there. Just do it your way. And we're just going to take it and wrap it. And because this is such heavy gauge, I'm just wrapping it 1 or 2 times. flatten that out on the bottom again. And then I'm just going to trim it like so. And push that down, and we have that. Now again, we're leaving this up here for the loop, and I'm leaving it for now. You can go ahead and form your loop, whatever. But that's our frame. That's all there is to it. So let's go back, since I am working with the darker wire, and that's going to be easier for y'all to see, I think, anyway. I've also taken my 24 gauge wire, my thinner wire, and darkened it as well. So I've got a couple really long pieces I cut here, but I don't really need it to be super, super long, I found. So I'm trying to figure out which one of these is about the medium length. There we go. So I've got 24 gauge, and this is, I don't know, just over a foot and a half, something like that. I had about 3 feet of it for the first one just to try it out. You don't really need that. So for me, I'm starting at the bottom, at the wider portion, because I figured that would be harder. I mean, easier to work up to the single point than trying to work from the single point and having it trying to move down. So all you have to do is take your thinner wire and make a couple wraps with it. Now I'm leaving a tail here, and I'm making a couple wraps just around that frame. And then I'm going to take my flush cutters and cut that little bit that's off, and press down that end. Just like that. So that's our starting point. And from there, we're going to start using our bead mixes. I am catching all this other wire here. We're going to start mixing up our bead mixes. Using our bead mixes to start. Now, on the candy corn, the bottom layer is yellow, so we will start with the yellow. So, with your wire, your 24 gauge wrapped around your frame, I'm going to take the yellow, and I'm going to go ahead and just spill out a little on my bead mat. That makes it easier to work and spread it out and pick it up. And so then I'm going to take just the end of the wire here and start adding on some beads. So adding, and I'm not doing a count or anything because all of these beads are different sizes, and counting them doesn't really help anything. Because you are going up, and so you're going to need a different amount every time you each line of these candy corns that you need. So I've got a good little length of it on there, and I'm going to stretch it out, let them all fall down here, and see how it fills up that space. Now I see a little more space there, so I'm going to add 2 or 3 more beads onto the wire and see how that looks. And letting them fall. I'm going to make sure this end is where I want it. And that's about perfect, I think, to fill up that space. So I'm just taking my wire, and I like to go and grab my end here and loop it through, and then pull as tight as you can. Kind of get it positioned where you want it and pull as tight. And I like to do 1 wrap around and then a second. And the second one, you're just going to want to pull straight forward in front of you instead of behind, you know, over to the side of the wire, because that will be the start of your second wire to come back across. And you're going to do the same thing. So for mine, I did 3 lines of yellow, 4 lines of orange, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 lines of white. That's what I thought. So it's 3, 4, 5 going up. So I'm going to get to that and then show you how we end it. So this is going to be my last bead right here at the very top, and I still have this much wire left. So that was plenty of wire. So I'm really just going to end it the same way I've been doing it. I'm going to wrap this wire around a couple times, 1 and 2, and pull it tight. And then I'm going to take my flush cutters again and cut it just like that. And use my needle nose pliers, or my my needle nose pliers to finish it off. And just like that, we have 2 of these. Now to really finish off this charm, what I need to do is make a loop at the top. Simplest thing in the world, we are going to bend our wire. Now I know that with my loop, I want it across the top like this and not front to back. Just because of the way that most ear wires hang, and I'm using this as a earring pendant or an earring charm. So I'm going to make sure that I take my little wire that's here and bend it so that it goes along here and doesn't go back or in front of this. Now I'm going to check and see if I need to trim that wire. As always, I like to use my finger as a measure of how much I need to cut. And I've got my big ol', I'm using really industrial strength wire cutters here. I'm going to cut that little tiny bit off. And since I am using the heavy gauge wire, I'm going to use my more, what I consider industrial round nose pliers to just come around and make this loop. Make sure it's closed all the way. And that's it. I'm going to add these to some ear wires and have super fun candy corn earrings. I'll have some pictures here at the end. You know, give this a thumbs up, give this a thumbs up to like it, subscribe to the channel, and you'll find me all over social media as Crafty Hope. Make sure to check on the blog. We'll all have other detailed pictures and instructions there too. Thanks guys. Bye.